This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Wednesday, March 28th, 2007, and this is episode 236 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hotchberg from MGMstudios.org. On the show today, we have Mike Scopa of MousePlanet.com. Welcome, Mike.
The plants with the exposed roots get plenty of oxygen from the air, while the water and nutrients they need are sprayed on as they pass through the mist boxes.
That would be
Muppet.
Len's, the story of Len Testa, Living with the Land.
Living with the land.
Living with the land.
Living with the land, exactly.
Living with the Len. And on the show is also Len Testa, co-author of The Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. Welcome, Len.
How's it going, Matt?
Outstanding.
Standing.
And we have Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Mike, how is it being Mr. Popular?
Yeah, Mr. Popular.
Well, it's Wednesday. We're answering your listener questions, and the first one comes from Mr. Voice.
Yeah.
Who writes, Gentlemen, as I write to you, there are currently 0 offers to Disney Visa card holders listed on the card holder website. Not just for Walt Disney World or for Disneyland, 0 total. Whatever happened to truth in advertising? Is Disney looking to end its Visa partnership, simply not holding up its end of the deal, or something else?
Wait, Matt, you gotta read that in a deep radio type voice.
Yeah.
As I write to you, there are currently 0 offers to the Disney Visa card holders listed on your card holder website.
An FM video.
FM video. This is interesting. I didn't check. I mean, they've usually had a couple. I mean, they always have something going on. None of them which really interest me. You know, it's like $50 off a really expensive cruise or something kind of like, you know, one of those. Not really a deal, I would say. I don't think Disney's looking to end its Visa partnership. I don't think that's the thing because it's never that. I mean, I enjoy it. I get my points from it, but that's interesting. Have you guys heard anything about the? I haven't heard any rumors.
I never thought it was a good deal in the first place, so it just doesn't. I didn't see any advantage to joining up with that. I didn't think that the points were very worthwhile, and I'm not even sure that I like the interest rate. So I just never paid attention to it. I never thought it was a good deal.
Well, I never liked the interest rate at all. Go ahead, Len.
Well, considering I work for a competitor, it's my opinion of the Disney Visa card is dim. But I had some experience when Disney was shopping around the idea of a credit card. I knew some people who were involved in the negotiations, and my understanding was that Disney was driving such a difficult deal that it was going to be difficult for any partner to make any sort of money on the partnership, which is I think why you don't see much in the way of rewards, that the margins simply aren't there for the partner to give back anything. I mean, they'd essentially be losing money on the arrangement otherwise. So I think that might have something to do with it.
I like the card. I mean, look, I haven't found any decent cards that have good interest rates, but I don't really use it for that. I just use it, I pay off all my credit cards on time, so it's a mood issue for me. Personally, I like it only because, where do I spend most of my time? Disney World. And if I put most of my purchases on the Disney card, then when I go to I go down, I'll have a nice little payoff over there, which I pick up the card at Downtown Disney, and then I get that pays for basically a meal and some stuff. So I enjoy it, but I agree that it's not the best card out there by any stretch of the imagination. Next email is from Phil DeLucia. It's actually a good question for Len, I think. Have you ever used Visa Traveler's Checks while at Walt Disney World? I need to get Traveler's Checks for next week, and I can't get them. I can get them for free from AAA. I usually get American Express, but I prefer to get free checks and save some money. By the way, tell Mike Scopa I'll be looking for him when I go down there. Tell him I'll be wearing my Walt Disney World Today hat and Walt Disney World Today T-shirt.
Okay.
Well, what's the? I'm unfamiliar with it, Len.
Well,
American Express travel checks
of course that the Visa Traveler's checks are denominated in rupees, and you'll have to be converting not directly from rupee to dollars, but through yen. So I hope that Phil is bringing along a calculator with scientific notation. So.
Not a fan of the Visa Travel checks, are we?
Again, work for competitor. Difficult for me to be enthused about the product.
Well,
I used to get mine.
American Express does have a fabulous traveler's check card, though. That's even more convenient than traveler's checks. Works like a gift card.
Sounds like a commercial.
I know, doesn't it? I'm not getting paid for it either. Anyway.
Have you used American Express traveler checks at the
Yeah.
parks line?
I have actually, and I think most people now don't actually have the checks anymore, where you have to sign them over. They actually have switched over to a product that's more like a debit card. So I would ask Phil to check with AAA to see whether that's what they're offering now. And then in that case, it works just like a debit card or a gift card.
Great. Next email is from Renee Barnett of Cincinnati, Ohio. Who writes, I'm currently going back and listening to all the listener question episodes. They are my favorite episodes. I listen to the questions and wonder if I would answer the same way that you guys do, and 9 times out of 10 I do. Recently, a man wrote in asking how a child should be when going to Walt Disney World for the first time. One of you said, sorry, I don't know the names yet, 6 or 7 years old, since the characters are big and might frighten smaller kids, and one of you disagreed, saying that they've been there recently with a 2-year-old, and that it's just fine with the characters. My daughter will be 2 and...
That was Scopa and Hotchberg.
Yeah.
Because you remember Len said when they're old enough to pay for it themselves. Which is, Renee might have blocked that from her. Her therapy might have succeeded, and she blocked my comment.
Anyway, Renee goes on, my daughter will be 2 in February, and she has been to Walt Disney World 5 times and Disneyland once. She was 4 weeks old when her
Would
first
she like
visit.
a job writing for a guidebook?
She was 4 weeks
Can
old
she
for her
hold
first
a
visit.
pen?
Okay, that was more for us, but there's nothing wrong with that, right? She absolutely loves the characters. One of her favorite DVDs is the Disneyland Sing-Along. For any of you listeners out there who are thinking about taking a younger child to Walt Disney World and are concerned that they might be afraid of the characters, might want to consider getting this before you go. Since it is the real characters and not the cartoons, kids will be able to see beforehand how big they are. Just a thought.
Oh, good idea.
So we thank Renee for that interesting suggestion. I think it's good. It's interesting that they use the park characters as opposed to the cartoons. Next email is from Sandy of New York, who writes, hello, Matt, Mike, Len, and Mike.
Hello, Sandy.
Thanks, Newman. My family and I will be traveling in February of 2008 for my daughter's 3rd birthday. We will be staying at Saratoga Springs Resort. On a previous trip to the world, we never have rented a car, but I keep on hearing your listeners' questions and you guys recommending to rent a car if you stay at Saratoga or Old Key West. I'm really nervous about the big group that will be going with us, total of 11 people.
Wow.
And depending on the Walt Disney World buses and ending up with a big group of tired family members. But on the same token, I would have to rent a bus to fit all my family.
Yeah, you
What
do
should
one
I
of
do?
those extended vans. Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, we rented one of those vans one time from Dollar, a 15-passenger van.
How did it work?
It was great. A little bit pricey, obviously a little bit pricier than a car. You're gonna run in, depending on the time. We paid, I think, $240 or $250 for the week, but it came in real handy.
Was that like one of the 15-passenger vans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one of those window vans. Came in real handy though.
Well, it's interesting that question came up because I got a comment here from Skiolator maybe, who writes, I just got back from Walt Disney World. I stayed at Saratoga Springs, and in response to the listener question on this show about renting a car for dining at the resorts, I would have to say go for it. The bus system at Saratoga was horrible. My father and our friends and I got up at 6 a.m. one morning, went right on to the bus at 6:20 since
6
MGM
a.m.
opened.
Wow.
Since MGM opened at 6:20 for extra magic hours at 7.
Wow.
We waited. Finally, a bus came at 7:20.
Ah.
Disney really needs to actually have buses come so that the guests can get in their parks before the general public.
Yeah, that's
Hate
bad.
the buses. Hate
Wow,
the
how about
buses.
that?
And Newell, you had mentioned, I
So-
think on a last live show about that if you're staying at Saratoga Springs to rent a car.
I always recommend renting a car.
I mean, it makes sense for everything but the Magic Kingdom. It was funny. When I was in Disney earlier this month, at Hotchberg, I think I called you. It was like 7:00 in the morning. The park was opening early for ESPN the weekend. I was literally the second car in the MGM parking lot. I mean, counting cast members apparently.
Yeah,
Because
that's right. You
there-
woke me up that morning. I appreciate
Yeah, sorry.
that.
I woke you up at 7 a.m. when everyone else in the rest of the world is already off to work. Hotchberg's still sleeping in. Whatever, it's cool. It's all right. It's cool. So literally, there's no one there to direct the car. I drove around in circles in the parking lot for a while just because I could. And,
Doing donuts in the park.
Well, it was funny. One of the trams was actually warming up with no one near it, but I figured I couldn't get very far with that. So, just
Drive that baby back to North Carolina.
I was head to Catastrophe Canyon and do a Thelma and Louise, but actually I ended up parking in the cast member parking lot, and there was no one there to tell me no. I parked in.
Len, you were such a rebel.
I know. Scofflaw, that's me. It was awesome.
After that, he was smoking cigarettes outside of the smoking area.
I was standing like 2 feet outside. I was blowing the smoke and going, "Take that, environment."
Called out
this
the
was the days.
Christina Testa,
That's
knocking
right.
ice cream over from little kids.
Yes. No, I didn't do anything like that.
Next email is from Brian, who writes, as an annual pass holder, I think it is downright wrong that they use incentives like hotel discounts as a perk to convince people to buy an annual pass, and then depending on how busy they are, they may not want to honor them at that time. I understand if they have a blackout days or something, but I've called to make reservations before, and they simply told me that they don't have any more rooms at the annual pass with the rate available. So do they only honor the discount that, in my opinion, you pay for with the annual pass whenever times are slow and they're trying to get people in? I rant and rave to my wife about this all the time, but she doesn't seem to think that it's that big of a deal. Am I being unreasonable? It is a selling point of the annual pass, and I think it should be honored regardless of how bad they need your business. It's an interesting point.
No, I kind of see the point. However, the purpose of the annual pass is to get 365 days of admission into the park. The hotel discount is
Gravy.
It's a bonus. But I'm wondering when Brian is going, because again, we've done research on this, and except for the 2 weeks around Christmas, annual passes are offered for annual discounts. AP discounts are offered for pretty much at least one of every type of hotel.
Well, you're right about that, Len, but they only offer a set amount of rooms, so it might be.
Well, yeah, okay, but
I think that's Brian's problem. He called up too late.
Okay, well, you got to be. The early bird gets the worm. Let's ignore for the fact that the early worm gets eaten. The early bird gets the worm.
This is a fine case where you can say, gee, maybe you need to employ the use of a travel agent to.
I was going to say the same thing.
I know, Len. Great minds.
Exactly.
But that travel agent knows ahead of time when the AP codes are coming out, and they would be right there, ready to grab that room well before the usual layman would know. So
you know what I like, Mike. Speaking of a good travel agent, they can put a room on hold for you, which is a great option because you don't have to commit. You don't have to say, well, I don't know. But if I'm interested, I want to grab a hotel for the rate, and if I decide not to go in the end, you unhold it. You have a time period, because if you're booking it this early in advance, maybe you want to wait. Maybe you want to see if airfare is going to come down. If not, you let it go. And if it does work out, great. You got your room picked for you. So that's going along with what you were saying, Mike. It's a great option to get a good Disney travel agent.
I like it.
This next email comes from Stacy Hootzel and family of Cleveland, Ohio. He writes, hello, Walt Disney World Today
Cleveland
team.
rocks, by the way.
There you go, Len.
Ohio.
Hello,
Thank you.
Cleveland.
Hello, Cleveland. Cleveland rocks.
My family and I will be traveling to Disney in mid-October this year, and we are currently booked at the Innkeepers Club, concierge level at Boardwalk. We have tried asking Disney with no luck. Can you tell us more about this room, especially how many of them there are, and what chance do we have, if any, of getting one of them that face the boardwalk? Also, does anyone know where I can find some pictures of the inside of this room? I have tried and not found anything. Thanks for anything that at all can help with you.
What room is it?
Innkeepers Club, concierge level at the Boardwalk Inn.
Innkeepers Club,
Concierge level
no.
Boardwalk. When I look for photos, I look for Deb's website.
Images.google.com.
No, actually, I'm going to Deb's website. So I'll put a link in the show notes to Stacy. I can't pronounce her last name, so I'll just say Stacy. But there are photos on Deb's website of you've got main entrance desk, lounge entrance, sitting area, all sorts of pictures. Post them there. Next email's from Molly in Connecticut, who writes, love the podcast. Any tips for someone thinking of heading down to Walt Disney World alone for a weekend? Timing a visit would probably depend on available deals. Have any of you ever traveled by yourself to get a quick fix? Does a bear crap in the woods?
Yeah, really.
Who's what now?
The answer is yes.
We've
we
all
do
just
go
gotten
quite a
back,
bit
except for
by
Mike.
ourselves. Any general tips for going?
I mean, really, whenever it depends on things like airfare and the hotel.
Yeah, good deals. That's usually the.
That's really what it's going to come down to. Yeah.
Any Scopa, you go quite a bit without anyone.
Yeah, it's not a spur of the moment thing though. It's usually planned, but going by yourself gives you so much more flexibility because the only person you have to answer to is yourself. So if you decide at the last minute to go, all you need to do is say, "Hey, self, you want to go?" And you say, "Yeah," and it's a great thing to do, especially especially when there's special offers like special rates, free dining, things like that.
I'm a little concerned that you actually have that conversation in your head. Does it actually play out in real time, or do you do you actually mouth the words?
It's okay. It's okay as long as I don't answer myself. I'm fine.
Exactly. Self, do you have enough? If you say to yourself, I don't know if I have enough money to do it, or should I really, do I really need to leave the house right about now? I got all these big events coming up. Yeah, you know what? I think I can go.
Magic Inn and Suites. That's
Magic
a great
Inn
deal.
$3
Can't go wrong.
Could possibly be wrong with that room.
Helicopter rides? Yes.
Yes, exactly. Bug schmugs. Come on. Actually, that wasn't the Magic Castle Inn and Suites. That was somewhere else. Magic Castle Inn and Suites was very clean.
It's got a vibrating bed. Who cares? Huh?
Exactly.
Next emails.
Remember those magic finger things?
No.
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 Come on. Shut up. You do so. You can buy them for your beds now. They make them. Anyway.
There you go.
All right.
Email Len for that information. Next email is from Jim Rudolph, who writes, "My family and I have been using old fast passes, sometimes several years old, and have never encountered a problem except once. It was just after Soarin' had opened, and we were trying to use an old fast pass from a few months earlier. Almost worked, but at the last checkpoint where they take the fast pass from you, the cast member did a double take and called their super. All that happened was that we had to exit the exit line. Other than that case, never a problem." That's weird. The one time it didn't work for me was also on Soarin'.
Yeah, we think it's just Soarin' actually, because a couple of listeners have written in saying that they had the exact same issue with Soarin'. And in fact, I know, Matt, when you were using the fast passes were probably months old, but some listeners wrote in and said that they were having the same issue with fast passes that were only expired by a few hours.
Yeah.
And I think what the issue is that one of the advantages to Disney for fast pass is that it makes the crowds more predictable in terms of how many people are going to get in any given hour. And when they started allowing people to come back at any time, that made the system less predictable, which again was one of the big benefits that Disney had. And for a ride like Soarin', which is insanely popular, I think most days it's the waits are 70 minutes plus, even on slow days. That they need that amount of predictability. Otherwise, the standby line gets very difficult to estimate. And when the standby line is difficult to estimate, especially if they underestimate the line, that results in negative guest satisfaction. So, if they're trying to estimate the line and they think it's going to be 30 minutes and it ends up being 60, you're going to have a lot of really mad guests in the standby line. I think that's why they're enforcing the fast pass return time.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
Next email's from Jonathan Shane of Newtown, Pennsylvania, which is just north of Philadelphia. "Hi guys, absolutely love the podcast. Great combination of humor and Disney information. Keep up the good work. I have a question which I'm hoping that you can answer. As you know, the Disney Channel has hit pay dirt in the past few years by catering to the tweens crowd, my daughter included. High School Musical and Hannah Montana have been mega hits for Disney. Recently, it seems that Disney is importing some of its tweens focus into the parks through vehicles like the High School Musical Pep Rally and the like. What I was wondering is, what are your opinions of what Disney is trying to do? Are you concerned that bringing tween material into the parks detracts from the more classic attractions? Or you think that Disney has struck the right balance between classic entertainment and attractions and the need to reach out to the new generations of potential Disney fans? Thanks again for the podcast. I absolutely loved Len's podcast discussing his recent trip to the $53 a night motel. What a hoot. I know that I will always think about Len and his family whenever I see a helicopter."
It's me being taken safely to another country so my wife doesn't kill me. Oh, funny.
It brings up an interesting question, and I'm just going to... Len, I think you have an opinion. Why don't you start off, Len? I've got an opinion, but I'll chime in.
So the thing about the tweens is that it makes the park fresh and updated and relevant. So I don't really love the High School Musical performance because I don't think Disney's really given the performers enough to work with. I mean, you remember when it was in the Magic Kingdom, it was essentially a stage, with a banner that they could have bought at Kinko's and some blow-up basketballs from Party City.
Yep.
And that was it. I mean, those were the stage props. And the kids, had to sing and dance, and they gave it their all, but really Disney was not giving them much to work with. But they did the best they could. I think over at the studios, they got away from having to have a stage by making them walk from Star Tours to the Big Hat, which is just hysterical. It's like, forget it, we can't even afford the stage anymore. And the kids are, they're still doing their darndest, and you got to give them credit for at least getting out there every day and doing that. It's not my cup of tea, but again, you got to give them props for doing it every day.
I like it. I mean, I think the High School Musical is fine. I mean, look, as long as we get to the point where we have to start reconsidering if land should be renamed, Hannah Montana Land or something like that.
Montana Land.
Yeah.
Wait, why wouldn't they just call it Hannah Montana? Hannah, Montana.
Montana, there you go.
That'd be a great publicity thing. They should rename like Helena Montana, make it Hannah Montana one day. Like they give her the key to the city.
There you go. One.
I just had a fabulous PR idea. Get Charlie Ridgway on the line. I have a question about some ducks.
But the good news, though, is if you're not a fan of all this stuff, take heed in the fact that, or solace in the fact, rather, that nothing that's based on TV ever lasts in the parks. It doesn't matter what it is, it never lasts, and it always gets axed at some point. So sooner or later, it's going to be replaced by something.
Except for the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, which is based on a TV show.
Loosely. All right, one example. I hate you, Lynn.
And let's see. Was there anything mint on Davy Crockett? No, we're cool.
Yeah.
No, the whole Wonderful World of Disney and color thing. Yeah.
No, Once a Millionaire, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Dinosaur. It all gets axed eventually. Next email is from Jordan Biber, who writes, here's a good question for all four of you. Since you all have separate websites or other interests on the subject of Walt Disney World, do you write your Disney trips off for taxable income?
It's interesting. So, I don't know. Go ahead. You guys go first.
My answer is no, but
Mine too.
I haven't gotten to the point. See, I don't have the reason why I don't, well, I guess I don't. I don't know, because I haven't done it yet. The answer is no for me. Anyone do it?
Scopa?
I've been toying with it, and there have been times when I've talked with an accountant friend of mine, and he said, well, you could, but, why don't you wait until it's more of a business kind of deal, and then you do it. I think it's a very, very gray area for a lot of us, and I'm not sure I'm ready to go up against the United States government if they question it, so I'm going to...
Now defending Mike Scopa, Mark Goldhaber.
Yes.
Yeah, now see, Mark probably could do
What do you mean Johnny Cochran's dead? What? So actually, I do. I have an accountant, and I think my situation's a little bit different in that we have the guidebook that we sell, and that there's research that goes into it. But all of the theme park research is that we pay people for is obviously this induction. Also, we did this is interesting. We did hotel research last year, and obviously we had to stay at the hotels to do the research. So I checked with my accountant on that, and typically half of travel and entertainment expenses are deductible. But I pointed out that I wasn't traveling. The purpose of the travel was to evaluate the hotel room, and that I couldn't. It's not like I could get the hotel room for half price. And so we talked about it, and we thought that those would be also legitimate business expenses. So it's one of those things where you really need to keep really good receipts and have a dedicated tax professional. But yeah, there's some stuff that I can't write off dinner at Narcoossee's every time I go, obviously, because you only need to dine there a couple of times to do that. And I can't. I still haven't been able to write off things like coffee or obviously souvenirs. Darn.
Yeah. Well,
but basic expenses. Yeah, I think it's legitimate, especially if it makes it in the book, like the hotel stuff did. That was many, if it wasn't tens of thousands of dollars, it was many thousands of dollars just for the hotel rooms, and I think that's a legitimate business expense because it made the book.
Interesting. Mary from Virginia writes, first.
If you could just forward the rest of your emails to me at Leavenworth, Kansas, which is where I'll be in tax jail. Anyway,
yeah, enjoy that. First huge thank you is for several things I've learned from you and your podcasts. But I have a question for Len. During our 2007 trip, we will be staying at Walt Disney World from August 31st to September 9th. On TouringPlan.com's crowd calendar page, the crowd levels for the week after Labor Day are listed as level 3 for every day except for Thursday, September 6th, which is listed as level 5. Is there a reason the crowd level jumps up for that particular day?
Okay, so the crowd calendar is a little bit biased towards the Magic Kingdom for a couple of reasons that we mentioned in the crowd blog, but Thursday's a relatively busy day at the Magic Kingdom. Thursdays, Sundays, Mondays are pretty busy, and that's why you see the increase. It's probably going to be a 4 everywhere else, but it is going to be more crowded than the rest of the week. A couple of other factors that come into play. Sometimes people who are doing long weekends will check in on Thursday and then head to the parks, so you see a little bit of an increase there. I'm positive in that I've seen the numbers in that more people check in on Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays than any of the other days of the weeks.
Mary also wants to know, also that week, Friday, September 7th and Saturday, September 8th are Night of Joy nights at the Magic Kingdom, but the crowd level is still at a level of 3. Does Night of Joy not affect the crowds?
Yeah, I don't think so. They're not much anyway. It's a hard ticket event in the Magic Kingdom, and I think it's going to be difficult for people to pay both admissions for the same day. They're going to do one or the other, but not both. I think the vast majority of people are.
One more quick question for you, Len, from Mary. That Saturday night will be the last night of our trip, and we usually like to tour the Magic Kingdom on our last day. Would you recommend or not recommend visiting Magic Kingdom during Night of Joy?
Wow.
Man, is there a Pirates and Princess on the 3rd she could go to? Isn't there?
There may be. She likes. I mean, the only reason she's going on that day is because she always likes going to the Magic Kingdom on her last day.
On her last day. Tough to say.
How much are the tickets? Does anybody know?
Nah, they're like more than 40, I think, between 40 and 50. That's a lot. And I don't know, it depends on what attractions are going to be open. I don't remember what was open last year. If it's like Pirates and Princess, though, then I think it's a fabulous deal. The problem, though, is I think Night of Joy sells out every year, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
wouldn't. I think you gotta not go, right?
I think yeah. Try Epcot World Showcase.
There you go.
And in
Starting
fact,
a new tradition.
if you want to, yeah, exactly. See how late you can stay in World Showcase before they kick you out.
There you go. Oh boy, here we get a whole new set of emails. Len shouldn't be advocating sending people to try to get kicked out.
I'm not saying break any law. I'm just saying see how late until they ask you to leave. There's nothing. Not like there's a hard ticket event. I'm just saying how late can you stay.
Last email of the day comes from David from Illinois, who writes, "Hi, gentlemen. I was wondering if any of you would know where I can get my hands on the Traditions training material that all new cast members get through at Walt Disney World. I would love to find, for classroom purposes, first-hand source materials such as manuals, handbooks, etc."
eBay?
Yeah, I've seen on eBay manuals for attractions like Tower of Terror or the Great Movie Ride or other attractions like that. Well, that's it for us today. If you want to find older episodes, read our show notes, or send us litigation, visit the Walt Disney World Today website at wdwtoday.com. You can also email us at questions@wdwtoday.com. For Len Testum, Mike Scope, Mike Newell, and myself, Matt Hodgeberg. We'll see you on the next show.